Good day, everyone. My name is Rich Chester, and I'm the Director of Business Intelligence for LPA Software Solutions. Pleased to be with you today to talk to you about the new features and functions available in Release 5 of IBM Cognos Analytics, otherwise known as version 11.0.5, which is generally available now and can be downloaded from Passport Advantage. Throughout the webinar today, you might find you have some questions. I'd ask that you please submit your questions using the chat feature of the WebEx. At the end of the presentation, time permitting, I will answer as many questions as I can while we're on the air. Any questions that you submit that we don't get to while we're together today, I will follow up after the webinar in an email with an answer. So all the questions you submit will ultimately get answered, but depending on the amount of time we have after the presentation and the demonstration, I may not be able to get to them all while we're on the air. But I do look forward to your questions. Today's agenda will start out with some important installation and configuration changes you should be aware of that are part of R5. We'll talk about how you can embed reports, dashboards, and stories in web pages and other portals, and the support for doing that that's embedded in the R5 product. So we'll navigate to the item we want to embed. We'll click a button and we will get the code to embed it. So I'll show you a slide on that and I'll do a demonstration of that. Then we'll talk about navigation paths. Navigation paths, this feature goes across both data modules and dashboards. You define your navigation paths in your data modules, and you leverage those navigation paths in dashboards. And it appears in many ways like OLAP data in that we can drill up and drill down in our navigation paths while viewing a dashboard or story. We'll talk about some other enhancements to the dashboards and stories tool, as well as some enhancements to the reporting tool and the data modules tool. We'll finish our topics today with some updates, some enhancements to the world of managing your Cognos Analytics environment, things like managing your licenses, and also presenting a custom view of the welcome portal to your users. And then we'll do some demonstrations, and we'll do as many questions and answers as we have time for. Again, I commit to answering all your questions, whether I get to them on the air or afterwards via email. This webinar, as all of our webinars, are recorded and are placed for free up on our lpa.com webpage under our resources area. You can leverage them without registration. There's no fee for them. So if you are interested in a topic from our past webinar series, or if you find that you want to share today's webinar with your colleagues, it'll be posted almost immediately after the broadcast here up to the resources area. We also post all of our webinars on our YouTube channel, so either way is fine. A couple of recent webinars that you might be interested in would be the What's New in R4 of Cognos Analytics, the installing and migrating to R3. We have a full hour on data modules and on dashboards that's available up there, as well as a bunch of Cognos 10 content. And of course, we're not just limited to BI at LPA. We also do information management, financial performance management, and predictive analytics consulting. And as a result, we have many webinars on those topics as well, all available on our website or on our YouTube channel. So please do take advantage of that education resource for your organizations. Before jumping into today's webinar content on R5, I want to talk to you quickly about a couple of ways that LPA might be able to help you as you make your journey toward and through the Cognos Analytics releases. Upgrades are on everybody's mind at the moment, in part because of some end of support dates that are quickly approaching. Cognos 8 and Cognos 10.1.x are already end of support. Those are not supported releases anymore. Cognos 10.2.x, like 10.2.0, 10.2.1, and 10.2.2, which I know a lot of folks aren't on. The end of support date for the 10.2 world is announced as April of 2018. So now's the time to be thinking about your migration plans from the Cognos 10 to the Cognos Analytics worlds. LPA can help you with that planning. We can help you with the implementation of your upgrade. We can also help you with the rollout to all of your users and support after the upgrade is completed. There are a bunch of Cognos 7 users out there. Perhaps there's a bunch on today's webinar. The 7.5 version, which is the last version of Series 7, that is also end of support in April of 2018. So again, if you're a Cognos 7 user and you're interested in upgrading to Cognos Analytics, please give LPA a call. We'd be very happy to earn your business. Now, in addition to helping you upgrade, we also are a full development lifecycle consulting company for business analytics. So we can help you with requirements, with design, with implementation of your models, whether those be framework models, data modules, cube models, and so on. Also, we have a whole group of report experts in Buffalo, New York. We call them our report factory. So if you have any components that you need help with in the development lifecycle of your Cognos Analytics or Cognos BI world, we'd be, again, more than pleased to earn your business. In addition to full development lifecycle, we have a full offering of training services, reporting, modeling, dashboards, data modules, dynamic cubes, administration, literally any course that you might need for Cognos BI or Cognos Analytics is available to you through LPA. And we'd love to have a chance to talk to you about our training offerings. And again, if your needs go beyond BI and go into information management or financial performance management in TM1 or predictive analytics, do please give us a call. We'd be happy to talk to you about your needs and potentially give you a proposal. Now, to the content at hand, what is new in Release 5 of IBM Cognos Analytics? First, let me talk to you about some installation and configuration changes. There's not many. By and large, installing R5 is pretty much identical to installing R4. For those of you who have SQL Server content stores, there is one big change in R5, and that is up until and through R4, IBM provided the driver needed for the Cognos configuration tool so that when you configured Cognos to use the SQL Server content store, the driver to connect to that database was included in the install. Now, rather than including a SQL Server driver out of the box, what you would need to do is get that SQL JDBC driver to connect to your content store from Microsoft. So you get that proper driver. It's got to be what's known as a type 4 jar, and drop that in your Cognos Analytics installation folder in the drivers subfolder. There's a number of jar files available from Microsoft. You want to download the jar that's compatible with the Java runtime engine that Cognos Analytics ships with, and that's JRE 8. So that would be SQL JDBC 42. Okay. Now, if you connect to the SQL Server content store using the Windows authentication option in the configuration, then in addition to the jar, you will also need the SQL JDBC auth DLL, and that would go into the bin64 directory. Now, don't scramble and take a bunch of notes. All of this, of course, is in the documentation and the installation and configuration guide. I'm just giving you the, perhaps too many details about this change, just because it is not something that as a SQL Server content store user you might think about having changed, right? So now you know. Also, Apache's 2.4 web server is supported beginning with R5. So like I said, not a lot of changes, but just a couple of important ones there. Moving on to that sharing and embedding topic that I introduced earlier. So sometimes it's desirable to send a person a link to some content in Cognos Analytics. That could be a dashboard, it could be a report, it could be a story. And crafting a URL for that link, right, is sometimes difficult because it's got to have certain encodings. Maybe you're not very comfortable creating complex URLs, or perhaps you're just not aware of all of the different options that you can embed in a URL. So what IBM has done in this release is they've given you a very, very simple way, a right-click and click share, or right-click and click embed, that will give you the URLs to let you either send someone a link or embed the analytics content in another portal, let's say. So I've shown an example here in the slides. So I right-clicked on a dashboard called Policy Analysis, and if I click the Share button, that's going to give me a URL that's going to look something like this. And this is intended to be a click here, and it'll run the report in the welcome portal. And if you don't have single sign-on enabled, you would need to log in order to run it. Similar but different, if I had clicked on embed rather than share, what it would give me is some HTML that creates an iframe that includes access to the object, in this case my dashboard, and as well as some height and width settings. And you can leverage this in your portal to embed the analytics content in an iframe in your web page. So very similar in terms of what you've got to do: right click and choose, send a link, embed in your web page. Is now fully and directly supported. Now, these URLs are going to give you the basic URLs. Now, there is in the Getting Started guide a bunch more information about more control you can have over how the objects are opened or run. So if you will, the right-click and get a URL items are going to give you some, if you will, basic functionality if you want to refine the functionality of how the reports and dashboards are displayed, whether you share them or embed them. You can modify these URLs, and the Getting Started guide will give you more details on that. Moving on now to navigation paths. So navigation paths essentially are a way for me to take the relational data that I have modeled as a data module and describe drill paths. They can be any number of levels. They don't have to necessarily match what you might call the natural drill path. Let me give you an example of a natural drill path using the sample data. So I think we're all familiar with the sample data that's out of the box. And that sample data, a natural drill path there would be product line, product type, product. A natural drill path on a calendar table would be year, quarter, month, day. Now, you could certainly implement those, and we probably all will do those more often than not. But it turns out that with a navigation group, if I wished, I could drill from year to product to region, if that made sense for a particular analysis. So you create your data module. You define your data module with your relational data. Data modules can be sourced from other data modules, from data sets, which are extracts, from packages or data modules, from an uploaded file, from a connection to a database, which there are called data servers in Cognos Analytics, and starting with R5, you'll see in a slide, packages. So you craft using one or more of those sources your data module, and then you define your navigation groups. You can define as many as you wish. They can be as shallow or as deep as you wish. And when you save the data module, they're saved. That definition is saved with it. And when you leverage the data module in a dashboard or a story, and you put a component of a navigation path in your widget. So for example, I have a drill path here that's got year, product line, and product type in it. Now here in this widget, you see I dropped in year. And I've got this area chart. And when I click on a year, like 2011, because it is part of a drill path, I get these new buttons. This is the back button. This allows me to move backward, essentially drill up. This is the drill down button. It'll take me, in this case, from the year level to the next level down, which would be the product line level. And then there is this button, Navigate, and that allows you to see the entire drill path. So in my case, it would show me the year, the line, and the type, and then I could go to any level using this Navigate. So Navigate will let me jump to any level of the drill path. So I can do a drill up, a drill down, and a jump anywhere I want. Okay, so these widgets, so I clicked on 2011, I clicked on the drill down button, and now it shows the drill down from year to product line. Okay, so I am not modeling dimensional data. My data sources are all relational or big data using the data servers, right? But I can define drill paths as though I were modeling a hierarchy in OLAP in my data modules, and I can leverage them in a view. It could be a dashboard, it could be a story. Okay? Now, speaking of dashboards and stories, let's talk about some other enhancements that are available in R5. We'll talk about how you can leverage a package as a data source for your dashboard. We'll talk about the introduction of a new Rave engine. So R4 and before had a Rave engine in it. You might remember that Rave was introduced in Cognos 10, and there's a whole collection of visualizations that you could download in 10 that would leverage the Rave engine. And you could even create your own visualizations if you learned Viz.json. We're going to call that engine Rave 1 going forward. And a new visualization engine, Rave 2, has been introduced into the tool. Now, Rave 2, as I understand it, is going to be very JavaScript friendly. Now, in R5, they haven't really exposed that part yet. That's coming in a future release, as I understand it. But in R5, they have delivered for you a bunch of new visualizations that leverage this new Rave 2 technology. By the way, Rave 1 is still part of R5. Everything that worked in Rave 1 and that you've already got living in your reports and your dashboards and so on, that'll all still work. The thing about Rave 2 is you get new stuff, and it opens eventually this door to JavaScript-based visualizations. Part of the Rave 2 introduction was also the introduction of some really compelling mapping technology available in dashboards and stories. Now, this is the first view, the first, if you will, implementation that leverages the partnership that IBM announced at World of Watson with Mapbox and with Pitney Bowes. So this is the very first, the tip of that iceberg. There is so much more to come in future releases, but the maps in R5 are just terrific. And I'll do a demonstration of those. There's something called an icon array that's typically going to be used in an infographic, but it can be used in any dashboard layout. And then something in the stories world called a guided journey. So let's talk about packages as sources for dashboards. So with R4, you are able to create a data set from a package, and you still can in R5. And a data set is an extract from a package, but it could be any package. It could be a CQM package or a DQM package, could be a relational package, or could be a dimensional package. In R5, directly, you can leverage DQM relational packages as sources for dashboards. So you don't need to use the data set if you don't wish to. Now, there's a number of reasons you might still want to use data sets. And they still, again, they're still there. That feature and functionality has not changed or gone away. But now if I wanted to, I could navigate to a DQM relational package, and I can drag and drop content onto a dashboard or a story. Okay. Now, if you have prompts embedded in the package, if you have standalone calculations, if you have standalone filters, all of that stuff is still supported. So if there's prompts on a query subject and I drag a column from that query subject, that prompt will be presented and I will need to provide a response, an answer to that prompt. So all of the features in the package are respected when you use it, which is terrific. Now, one feature in dashboards, though, that you can't use when you leverage a package as your data source is the data tray. So the data tray button is at the bottom center of the dashboard pane. When you click on this for other data sources than packages. You can browse the data in those data sources, and you can apply global filters to the widgets in your dashboard from those sources using the data tray. However, with a package, the data tray functionality is not available. Okay, so we now can use DQM relational packages as sources for dashboards. So now the source list is data modules, uploaded files, data sets, and DQM relational packages. And you can mix and match those sources on a dashboard or a story. The Rave 2 engine, I've sort of told you a lot about this. Dashboards and stories, though, are going to automatically upgrade to use the Rave 2 versions of the visualizations in R5, except tree maps and geographic maps. So tree maps and geographic maps are going to use Rave 1 after the upgrade. But all of the other visualizations in your dashboards and stories will auto-upgrade to Rave 2. If you wish, you could delete and re-add your tree maps and maps and leverage the Rave 2 versions of those. But out of the box, if you will, right after the upgrade, those will stay the same. In other words, you won't get the compelling maps I've been talking about without going in and deleting and re-adding your maps and your existing stuff. Of course, anything new you create will automatically use the Rave 2 versions. In addition, you'll note new buttons at the bottom of your widgets shown here. It's a pan or a move the widget toggle. You click on this and it toggles. One click and it moves you to pan. The next click would move you back to move. In other words, you don't click on the icon you want. You just click this button and it toggles you back between moving and panning. What's panning? Well, panning is when I click in the visualization and drag, it actually moves the visualization within the frame. And when I move widget means when I click on the visualization and drag, it moves the widget to a new location on my dashboard or story. So pan is about moving the widget within the confines of its borders. I'll do a demonstration of the new visualization engine. Now, when I say compelling maps, I mean compelling maps. So the new Rave 2 map visualizations, when you add them to dashboards or if you update your existing dashboards with maps and re-add the maps, you're going to get access to some really, really detailed maps and map layers. You can map continents, subcontinents, countries, states, cities, counties, I believe. You can streets, zip codes, coordinates are all available to map now in these map visualizations. The one that I'm showing here, I zoomed in. You zoom using your scroll wheel, by the way, on your mouse. I zoomed in all the way down to the street level, as you can see there in the Dallas area. If you click on, let's say, a product line in a widget from the same source that you've mapped countries and revenue, the map will react to the product line being clicked and will filter to the data to that product line. If you click on a country in a map or on a city in a map, it will pass that information to the other widgets and will filter those. So in other words, the full inter-widget communication that's part of the dashboard and story world is actually implemented in this new Rave 2 based map. And this, again, is just the start of the spatial capabilities from the partnerships that they announced. This is just the first manifestation. I would expect to see even more with the spatial analysis capabilities in Release 6. But these are pretty nifty in Release 5 and very compelling. Here's an example of something called an icon array that's part of R5. So sometimes we wish to display our KPIs like total revenue in a small summary widget on our dashboard, let's suppose. And that gives us a number and it expresses it as a number. But in an infographic is intended to be pictures. That's the definition of an infographic, is conveying data with pictures. In this release, they've given us the ability to convert that summary widget to a collection of pictures. So what I did is I created a summary widget and dragged over revenue in it, and it showed me a value. And then I dragged a little piggy clip art from the icon list that's available in your dashboards, and I dropped it on top of that widget. And so now instead of displaying the actual number, 10 billion or 162 million or whatever, it's actually going to present you those icons, and it's going to give you a little key at the bottom, and it's going to actually give you a number of those icons based on the values. So 162 million is the number for mountaineering equipment. So there is, since each represents 10 million, there's going to be 16 full piggies, and then 2 million, if you will, 20% of the piggy shaded for the 160, the 2 million part. Okay, so it's a different way to express your data. You can express your data as numbers, or you can express your data as an icon array, and the array will auto scale, and you'll get an update to the legend as to what each member of the array represents. In the world of stories, there's a new story type called a guided journey, and it guides you visually through a story. So remember that stories are really all about using visualizations live to present information to an audience. Think, I guess, PowerPoint on steroids, right? Any images you have in PowerPoint, they're static. If you, instead of using PowerPoint, you present your images, your data, using a story, it's interactive. You can click on it, you can filter it real time, you can respond to questions. People say, what if we did this? You can do that, and you can show them the result. In a guided journey, it takes you through the widgets on your storyboard, and it just shows you first the entire storyboard, and then it will pan and zoom automatically to each component on the canvas. So as you're talking through your story with your audience, you can talk about your general message with the whole board shown, and then you can drill into each component of your canvas to get to the detailed parts of your story. So it's sort of a built-in set of animation across your storyboard. So those are all new features in the world of dashboards and stories. Now, in the world of reporting, there is also a bunch of investment going on. We'll talk about each of these in a bit of detail, but lists are now a dimensional object. Up until this release, you didn't have drilling capability in lists. You could certainly use a cube and source a list, but the list wasn't drillable. With this release, it is now drillable as long as you're running in the full interactive mode, the new consumption mode that's part of Cognos Analytics. Of course, we have new visualizations using Rave 2. When you run in the fully interactive viewer, up until this release, when you clicked on a chart, you didn't get a lot of selectable components, which meant you didn't get a lot of pop-up button bars to let you do things in the interactive mode with those charts. Now, in R5, more components of a chart are selectable, and therefore you'll get pop-up toolbars to do more things in fully interactive mode with charts. They changed the interface. In R4 and before, in the reporting tool, you had your data sources, you had your toolbox, and then you had an icon here that looked like a steering wheel. That was the navigate icon. And that lets you get to your page explorer, your query explorer, and your condition explorer. With R5, they have actually separated the navigation into two buttons. This first button is your page navigator. So this is your page explorer button. It gets you at your page list, your prompt page list, as well as back to classes in your report. The second button is your query and condition explorer. So you click on the query and condition explorer to get there. Lineage is now available when you author, so you can right-click and get Lineage. When you run in the fully interactive viewer, if you made a change to the report you were viewing, like you sorted it or you grouped it or that kind of thing, Excel and CSV outputs were not supported after that change. With this release now, even though if you've made a change in the interactive viewer, you can output to Excel and CSV. The prompt user interfaces have all been redesigned. You can optionally turn on those new UIs if you wish. And the filter window when you use the filter tool has been redesigned. So a little more detail on all of those. First, dimensional operations on lists. So you're running with dimensional data in a list using the new fully interactive viewer. You will have an explore button that allows you to do all of the dimensional actions, gestures, if you will, that you are used to being able to do in crosstabs and charts. So drilling, top or bottom, filtering, all of that stuff. So in the fully interactive viewer, a list is now a fully dimensional object from an exploration perspective, even to the point of adding calculated members. So the visualization world in reports has changed, and as it turns out, so has the chart world, because you see they've taken away the chart tool from the toolbox, and now to access either the Rave 2 visualizations, the Rave 1 visualizations, or the chart library, you use one tool, and that tool is called visualizations. And then up in the corner of the tool, as shown here, there's a little filter button, and you show it which collection of objects you wish to see. So if you want to see the chart library, you'd click on charts there. If you wanted to use the new visualizations, and so on. So because charts are really a visualization, just not of the Rave variety, really there isn't a need for two tools. It really is, it's all visualizations. So they've combined the two tools into one and given you this filter button to allow you to pick which collection you wish. Here's what I mean by being able to click on pieces of a chart when you run in fully interactive mode. You see, before R5, I couldn't click on an individual bar and get a pop-up button bar in the fully interactive viewer. Now I can. I could click on the entire chart in R4 and before, but I couldn't click on pieces of the chart. So with this release, I now can, and therefore I can perform more fine granular options, changes to charts when I consume in the fully interactive mode. Already talked to you about the fact I got new buttons. I got the page button, and I got querying condition explorers. Now they're separate instead of in a single button. And I believe that this was a great enhancement from me, right? Being able to click right on the page explorer and get there, being able to click right on this button and go immediately to the query explorer was a lot more natural feeling than using the navigate button and having to pick among the three explorers. So I think you'll find that this is easy to get used to versus the navigate button, and is also, I think, going to feel more natural. If you recall, Lineage in the Cognos Business Intelligence world, right, allows me to understand more about the data item I selected. And it shows me where the data item came from. It shows me any transformations to it, like calculations on it and that sort of thing. And it had multiple views. It had a business view. It had a technical view. That Lineage report is now available for data items in a data container. So here I've got a list. I have right-clicked on the order method type in the list. I've clicked on it. And then I have used the More button, and then I choose Lineage from the More button. So in a saved report, you'll get Lineage. If you're developing a report and it hasn't been saved, you're not going to get the Lineage option, and you're not going to get Lineage in an active report. So when you're authoring a report, you save it, you right-click on a column in a data container, like a list or a chart or a crosstab, and then you'll get Lineage. Already talked about the fact that I can do Excel and CSV while running in fully interactive mode, even after I performed an operation on the report, like filtering the report or sorting the report. Now I still can do CSV and Excel even after I've done one of those operations. I got a couple examples of the prompt interface here. Their UIs are available, but they're not enabled by default. In other words, you need to go into the report properties and turn on the report styles and pick the 11.4 styles to get the new prompt UI. It's going to default to 11.x styles, which will give you the old UI. So here is the old UI for a select and search prompt. All I did was go into that same report, turn on 11.4 styles, and this is the UI I got. for that exact same prompt. Okay, so if you choose to leverage the updated UIs for prompts, you can go into your report level property sheet and enable 11.4 styles. Filters have been redesigned. This is the new filter window. It's not that they have changed functionality, but some things have moved around, like prompt for values when the report is run in viewer checkbox used to be in the upper right, very easy to miss. Now down here you've got options on the lower left. I think that's a little bit harder to miss when you're looking for it. So the filter wizard, if you will, is invoked for filters that you create when you click the filter button in the on-demand toolbar, or if you right-click in the data source and choose filter for report. These, I'm not talking about filters that are expression-based that you add by editing the query and adding the filter tool to the query. Those haven't changed. They're still an expression. The expression builder hasn't changed. It's just these, what I think of as wizard-based filters, that have changed. Moving on to data modules. So data modules have a couple of updates. The first of which is support for some packages. And the second is this notion of linking. So let's take a quick look at those. First, relative to the packages, just like in dashboards, where it's support for dynamic query mode relational packages, and you can source dashboards directly from them, you can also source a data module from a package. So now data module sources are other data modules, and we'll talk about data module linking in a second. Data servers, that's a connection to a database. Data sets, that's an extract from a data module or a package of any flavor package, by the way, in the data sets. A dynamic query mode relational package now, and uploaded files. So all of those sources could be mixed and matched in a single data module. Now, when you add a package as a data source, you will not get access to the contents of the package itself. It's kind of added as, if you will, a blob. You can't expand it. You can't look at it. You can't just take a piece of a package and add it to your data module. When you add the package, you add the entire package to your data module. Now, let's suppose you need to create a relationship to the package, say from an uploaded file or from a data server. When you go into the relationship window, you'll pick the query subject from the package and then pick the data items from that query subject to use in your join. So when you create a relationship, you have access to the contents of the package. Otherwise, you do not. So that's packages, DQM relational packages. Now, the notion of linking a data module. So I said before that you can source a data module from another data module. Now, why would you ever want to do that? Well, suppose you have, as the, let's say, the IT organization or as a super user in your department, you have modeled the data warehouse, or you have modeled a collection of data from a transaction system, or you've modeled a bunch of information from uploaded files. And I want to leverage that model and add a couple more things to it. Now, my choice is to remodel everything from scratch myself, or to leverage this, if you will, fully tested and supported data module as my starting point, which is a beautiful thing. And so I think you can see that there's value in having, if you will, these building block data modules that have been built by IT or super users, been vetted, and are great starting points, and you can trust them. And then you add your unique stuff for your analysis. However, what if the underlying data module changes? Well, beginning with 11.0.5, by default, your data module will be linked to the original data module you leverage. So if you leverage the data warehouse data module, you drop it into a new data module and you add some stuff to it. If the underlying data module for the data warehouse changes, your new module will automatically inherit those changes. So your data module is linked to the original model. So it's not just a copy, it's an actual link that's live, and those changes will auto-propagate. If you wish, you can break the link. In other words, if you don't want the auto-propagation, you can break the link on a table-by-table basis by using the context menu and choosing break link. But out of the box, by default, if you will, they're linked, and so you'll inherit the changes. So that's a great add, because it really makes this notion of bulletproof starting modules, and then I add just the unique content I need to it. It really makes making that a reality a whole lot easier and even more beneficial. Getting on to the last topic before we do some demos, managing the Cognos Analytics world. So some features around license management, around customization of the interface using the notion of roles. And I do mean the roles in security that we use right now to align people to capabilities. We can now align people to custom interfaces with roles. You can customize the dashboard shapes if you wish by uploading a spec for new shapes to go into the shape library. And you can also create new dashboard widgets. There's this notion of metadata from data servers, and you leverage that, especially in the intent-based modeling, but also in relationship inference when you drag over tables. Preloading that metadata is available now in R5, which can save a lot of time for your end users leveraging your data servers. And there's a couple of new data sources. So let's talk through those guys. First of all, a license management tool. So here's a screenshot of the license management tool that I filled in. And what it shows is a system administrator tool on the Manage button. And it allows me to express whether this environment is production or non-production. And also lets me put in the licenses I purchased under the Owned column. And it leverages the groups and roles and the mappings you've done from your authentication source to populate the Used column so that you can come in here and you can understand who owns each license in your organization. How have you mapped to those licenses? And of course, you can also see if you've overmapped and you need to either purchase more licenses or you need to reduce the number of folks in a particular category. And you can generate a report like I've shown here that shows who is leveraging the license and the last time they logged in. So that's license management. Role-based customization, I plan to do a demo of. I plan to show you an example of creating a new role and giving members of that role a custom UI. And that's the notion here, is you've got roles. You can, as an administrator, you can assign themes, landing pages, as well as turn on and off components of the UI using a nice quick mapping tool. The notion is you associate a look and feel, if you will, to a role. You associate people to the role, and the people in the role will get the customization you've described. Now, what if I am in two roles? What if I'm a member of role 1 and role 2? You can optionally say which role will win, if you will, which role supersedes the other based on something called the priority of the role. Highest priority will win. So the role that I'm in with the highest priority, that's the UI I will get. So we'll take a quick look at that, time permitting. I told you could update the environment by adding custom shapes to the dashboard shape library. There is a sample file of 3 shapes. Those are the 3 shapes that are shown here on the slide that you can, the samples install when you install Cognos Analytics. When you navigate to the samples folder, you'll find a zip file that contains the spec, which I have a screenshot of there, as well as the SVG image files that define these 3 widgets. And you can upload that as a customization to your environment and add these to your dashboard library. You can also add custom dashboard widgets. And they're defined in JavaScript. And you can execute any valid action in JavaScript. The results of the action you execute are displayed in the widget. You'll get a new icon for any custom widgets you've installed in the dashboard world, and you can drag them on. The Managing Cognos Analytics manual has the information about all of the sample extensions and customizations, as well as a sample of a custom widget that uses JavaScript. So rather than get into any of that here, I'll direct you to the Managing Cognos Analytics document that you can download from the IBM site. When you use a data server, IBM needs to go out and examine the contents of the data server to understand the tables, the relationships, the data types, the indexing, and so on. In a large database, that takes a lot of time. So as an administrator, you can go out and you can preload the metadata for your data servers, and your users will have access to the schemas that you have preloaded. So you can load that metadata. You can also clear that metadata and load it again. And you can also control how much data sampling is done and that sort of thing as part of this interface. But the metadata is leveraged by the intent tool that lets you do intent-based modeling. It's also leveraged by the relationship inference tool and so on. So the metadata is important. Preloading it now is part of creating your data server. There are 3 new data sources supported in Cognos Analytics, the Aurora, Snowflake, and Pivotal HDB. So FYI, those are supported. So let's go ahead and do some demonstrations as time permits. So what I'm going to do is go over to my 11.0.5 installation, and I'm going to show you a couple of demos I have teed up. And then, unfortunately, we'll have to break and take some questions before we run out of time. But let me first give you a demo of the maps. So the new mapping tool is the default mapping engine, if you will, in the dashboard. So I'm going to take and drag country onto my dashboard. And simply by dragging country, this is a text column and an uploaded file in this case that just contains the names of countries. You can see that the names of the countries that are in my text file have now been highlighted. I'm going to drag revenue and drop it on, and you'll see it now displays my map with colored regions based on the value of the revenue. Now this is that toggle about move versus pan. I'm in pan mode now, so you see I can move my map around. If I click it again, I'll toggle over to move my widget around. Now I'm going to use my scroll wheel, and I'm going to scroll. Whoops, I got to pan and scroll. So let me get back to panning here. And I'm going to scroll in and down into the US. Now, I did not map anything at the street level or the state level. I could have had my data included it. But what I'm just trying to show you here is the crazy level of detail that's baked into this new mapping capability. So again, Rave 2 with the Mapbox and Pitney Bowes partnership. This is just the first manifestation. Now, I think you'll agree that this level of granularity, this kind of interaction with a map, this is a first in the Cognos BI world out of the box. So very exciting for me anyway, because we get a lot of questions about spatial analysis at LPA, that this kind of spatial analytic capability is baked right into the tool is just very exciting for us. Let me show you a drill path. Here's a data module that I designed very quickly from the sample data. I'm going to go to the properties of the data module itself. And on the property sheet, you'll see that there is a tab called Navigation Groups. And in this particular data module, I've created 2 navigation groups. I created a navigation group that would take me from year to month. And I've also got another navigation group in here that will take me from product line to product type to product. So I added those 2, just product line to product type. So I added those 2 navigations to my data module and saved it. Now I then used that data module to build this widget in a dashboard. And the widget that I built is a simple line chart with product line and year showing sales data. Now, product line is a member of one of my drill paths. Year is a member of another one of my drill paths. As a result, when I click on a value, I'm going to get those drill buttons back, not enabled because I haven't drilled down yet. Drill down and navigate. So navigate will show me the entire hierarchy and let me move to any point on it. Drill down, of course, will drill me down. So I just drilled down to my month level on this axis. Now my product lines, I'll click on golf equipment. They're also part of a separate navigation group. So I could also drill down on this axis on my chart here and get to the product types that are part of golf. I could also drill up, go back in other words, on both of my axes, which I will do. And then just like you would expect, since each point on a line represents both a product line and a year, if I click on a point on a line and I drill down, I'll actually drill on both axes at the same time. So this drill path, this drill navigation groups notion that's baked into data modules and then leveraged in dashboards gives me very OLAP-like interactions with my relational data. One more example that I will show you has to do with customizations of the user interface, because I get a lot of questions about UI customizations. And they're done through roles, and they must be done, the role part must be done through this manage accounts capability. So what I've done is I've created a custom LPA role out here in the Cognos namespace called LPA dashboard read only, and I'm going to go to the properties sheet on it. I put in some members, which are my student users. I did a customization entry, and under the advanced there, I did set it to the highest setting. That way, this is the role that will control the UI for the members here, no matter what other role they might be in and what other customizations that role might have. This is the role that will control for this group of users. And just to give you a notion of the customizations that you can do, this is access to almost every component of the UI. And what I decided to do was set it up so that these users could leverage dashboards, but they couldn't create new ones and they couldn't save changes to existing ones. So on the home screen on the navigation bar under New, I turned off dashboards, so they won't be able to click New Dashboard with this profile. Under Dashboards, I went ahead and on the application bar, I disabled the Save button and the Change to Edit Mode button. So with those three changes, if I log in as a member of that group, I will not have in my New button access to dashboards. See, the dashboard entry is gone. I still have the capability because I need the capability to run a dashboard, but I wanted to customize this UI so I couldn't create new ones if I was a member of that role. And then let me go ahead and bring up a dashboard. And then I'll see if I can take a couple of questions before we run out of time. So here's a dashboard, and when that dashboard comes up, I will not have the Edit Mode button and I will not have the Save button. So I've effectively created a profile that gives me read-only users for dashboards. You can leverage them, but you can't save them and you can't create new ones. So that is an example of the customization changes. There is so much more I could show you. And I think I only have time for one question, so I apologize for that. But all the questions you submitted will be answered after this webinar via email. Let me take one question, which is, portal tabs do not appear to be part of Cognos Analytics. Are they? And if so, how do I create them? All right. So the short answer is they are not yet part of Cognos Analytics. So if you're using Cognos Connection portal tabs, you do not have access to a similar notion of creating custom tabs in Cognos Analytics yet. The IBM product management team is very aware that these are popular and used quite a lot, and that something needs to be done. So there is a plan to provide us with some capability to replace the portal tab notion and be native to the Cognos Analytics environment, but not yet. So it's a future release kind of thing that is on the roadmap, but it's not there yet. By the way, the pages that you used in Cognos 10 to define your tabs, those all work. You can navigate to them and click on them, and they will open. It's just that you can't right now set up when I open Cognos Analytics, I want 5 tabs shown, the standard welcome screen and these 4 custom tabs that contain my pages. That's what's not here, and that is what product management is planning to give us something on in a future release. Well, we've run out of time, so all that remains is for me to say thank you very much for attending. I will answer all of the questions you've submitted via email. And until next time, I'm Rich Chester. Thank you for attending. Bye-bye.